Tonight on the Black Channel, the world is discussing what is it that black people want. For the first time, you are going to hear the definitive list of demands of black society given by the black media. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, right now, there is a vicious, evil effort underway by the white supremacist media. They have spent weeks now attempting to trot out fake, phony, so-called activists, individuals that they have plucked from obscurity that nobody knows from anywhere. Individuals who do not speak for black people. They just grabbed, in some cases, teenagers and claiming, hey, you should listen to them. Attempting to seize control of the narrative before the black media showed up. But here's the problem. They don't speak for the black street. You don't speak for the black street. The black media does. And tonight I'm bringing you part 2. And really the most important part of our 2-night special event. Last night we discussed what white society wants. Tonight we are discussing what black people demand. The world wants to know what we demand, and you're not going to take a bunch of puppets or a bunch of kids plucked by the white media that they've already vetted and made sure, okay, let's make sure you don't want nothing now. You're not going to be able to pull that game. That's not going to work. The black media is here, and tonight, as you all know, they are desperately trying to change the subject. White supremacy has taken it on the chin so badly. Over the course of the last 2 weeks, it has been so devastating. The white supremacist media is no longer waiting anymore. They are springing into action and saying, we got to seize control of this narrative now. We have got to say the problem isn't white supremacy. The problem is in black society. The problem is black folk. We're going to redirect it. Nope, not going to work. Because tonight we are going to discuss black people's issues and what black people demand. And black people's issues do not begin with diverting into anything else. So without further ado, first and foremost, we are going to discuss exactly what is it that black people want. And you can begin the list of demands. If you're going to give it a title, if you're going to give it a cover page, then that list of demands will begin like this. Black people are demanding reparations across the board. Now, what do we mean by reparations across the board? Black people have not just been enslaved. Black people were not just Jim Crow segregation oppressed. Black people have been victimized at literally every level, every strata, every aspect of this society. And to give it the blanket term of systemic racism begins to get at the issue. But if you are going to discuss what needs to be done to rectify the issue, then you've got to discuss that reparations starts with economics but does not end there. It is not merely an economic issue. So as black people, we are going to start by saying the issue is reparations across the board. You will not hear this from your hand-picked puppets of the white media. You will not hear it from their LGBT Negro flunkies. You will only hear it here. YouTube is restricting the views on this channel. They are restricting our visibility right now. So I need all of you to share this and to let people know that we talking about the real thing over here. We're not going to let them stop us. They're not sharing this video with people on YouTube. Okay, I need everybody listening to me right now to share this because this is the issue. We're putting the world on notice of exactly what are our demands. So if you want to give it a blanket term, the demand is reparations across the board. Now, what exactly does that entail? What exactly does that mean? That's what we are going to get into now. Number one, before we go any further, first and foremost, it will be understood that the agenda must address black people and only black people. We are not here to discuss every ill of society. We are not going to sit up here and let you divert and detour the conversation into non-black issues. We're not going to let you do what the New York Times, this dirty, filthy piece of crap, white supremacist, historical news, so-called newspaper outlet has done. That when black people start beating on white supremacy, they jump in and say, all right, enough of that now. Let's talk about other issues. No, and well, we sent some Negro flunkies to sit up here and tell you, hey, you got to listen to them. No, we don't. We are identifying collaborators. If you hear somebody tell you, well, the issue is all black lives, we already said black lives. To say all black lives is redundant. Well, we need to discuss what happened to LGBT. No, you want us to stop talking about white supremacy, and you are a collaborator. Which is why the white media wants to magnify that and amplify it, and we will not let them change the subject. First and foremost, the agenda must address black people and only black people, period, full stop. Not minority, not black and brown, not any other additions, no additives, all preservatives. When black people are specifically targeted and harmed by the government, they always lead off when we say it's time for solutions by saying we need to do something for black people. The discussion always starts about black people to get us calmed down whenever we rise up, but invariably politicians in the media, when it's time to discuss the allocation of resources to rectify and remedy the problem, which is the struggle and discrimination against black people, they start off by using our name and then divert the resources intended to help us into helping everyone except us. So the problem begins because 100% of the issue is what's wrong with black people, but when it's time for the solution, all of a sudden the remedy is 3% directed towards black people. That is a bait and switch game that has been going on for the longest, and we are calling it out that before we discuss anything, the issue is black people for black people, only black people. We are going to deal with this problem alone. And anything else comes later down the line. We'll know the issue is fixed when we tell you it's fixed. It has been an unforgivable insult to see programs like affirmative action, which was originally supposedly set aside meant to correct white supremacist racial injustice against black people, and then to see white people receive affirmative action resources intended for the very black people that their white privilege has been victimizing. No more bait and switch language. The agenda begins, but we are setting the table by saying we are here to discuss black people, what black people need, and what black people are due to get. The remedy for black people, not transgender, not humpbacks, not women, not people of color, not minorities. If you are a black person, we are talking about what is necessary for you in a system to overturn this system of white supremacy that victimizes us all with impunity. So first and foremost, that is where it begins. If the discussion is not framed in that light from the very start, then in the words of Dr. John Henry Clarke, it is illegitimate. And it is out of order, and it needs to be immediately aborted. We are not going to sit down and discuss black people indirectly. We are going to discuss black people only, and any attempt to veer and steer in another direction will be called out for what it is, and we're getting up and walking away and taking back to the streets. Number 2. Black society's top priority is economic empowerment. If you want to know what the solution is, if you want to know what we're stomping for, if you want to know what the ultimate end goal is, and the metric by which we measure whether or not we are progressing and succeeding, we're measuring it in dollars. If we as a group universally got more dollars, then we moving in the right direction. When you handpick a bootlicking lackey like Oprah Winfrey, and you all dump a bunch of money in her for betraying her people, no, we're not going for the, well, if one black person doing well, no. Either we all coming up or we're all going down. But you're not going to handpick Negroes and tell us, well, we dumped off a bunch of money to pay off this nigga over here to betray the rest of you. And then, well, ain't you doing good? Oprah doing well? No, just because your Negro flunkies are doing all right, that's not the metric. Black people across the board, as a group, we need to have more economic control. We need to have absolute economic control. The black economy and black infrastructure, economic infrastructure, needs to be controlled by us. And if we are not making more money, if we are not holders of capital, if we are not able to finance these things at an unlimited, global, and universal level, then the system is failing. Period. We do not wish to be your employees. We will not be your servants. We are going to be leaders and masters in our own right. No one is going to tell us where the beginning or the end is. We will define all of those things ourselves. But we understand a key point. You may hate us because we're black, but you're able to victimize us because we're poor. And as long as we remain poor, we remain easy victims. But the more affluent we are with our black identities, point number 1, the agenda is black people. Point number 2 is how you enforce point number 1. So making sure that we have economic empowerment is how we enforce number 1. And at that point, we're ready for anything you want to throw at us, and we can finance whatever level of response we need to. The Black Wall Street was victimized because they had an economy, but they were missing stockpiling weapons. But when you got an economy, you focus on that so you can protect your economy, but without the financing, you will not ultimately be able to hold it. So before we say anything else, the agenda is black people. Well, what do black people want? Our top priority is economic empowerment. That is what the discussion is about. And if it's about anything else, it's illegitimate and out of order. We're not here to discuss subterfuge or deflections. The wealth of America and the Western world was built first and foremost on exploiting black labor through slavery and later using institutionalized racism, which still exists, to trap black people into being a perpetual labor, consumer, and prison class of citizen. The only solution is for black people to have full control of our own economic infrastructure and destiny. Right now, state and local governments are willing to throw billions of dollars to support mega corporations owned by white men like Jeff Bezos, who's not going to do anything but make a few wealthy individuals even wealthier. And if the state of New York were to utilize that same tract of land in Long Island City that they were going to give away to Amazon, with the same economic incentives that they were going to squander on Amazon and instead make that a concentrated development zone for confirmed black businesses, no token black businesses, no I look white but I'm really black when you think about it businesses, true black businesses, that would do we could do far more with that opportunity with far less than Bezos ever could. And that's the real reason so many people oppose it. That's the same reason it must happen. How do you make that occur? There needs to be a Marshall Plan for Black America. And by that, I mean across the board, America must accept a Marshall Plan ideology where black people are concerned. After World War II, Japan was bombed to hell. America didn't enslave them. They didn't institute Jim Crow. They didn't institute institutional segregation and racism. They rebuilt Japanese society as one of their puppet states. I shouldn't say puppet state necessarily, but certainly one of their disciple states. And that we're going to get you up to 20th century speed so that you can become a satellite in Asia for our power and control. But they rebuilt that society to 20th century specifications. The federal and state governments in the United States, every state, every individual state, and the United States federal government as a whole, all engaged in active warfare against the black population of this country with one goal in mind: to keep black people impoverished for white society's benefit. And just as laws like the Homestead Act were written to give white people free land that they could develop and grow rich from generationally, while excluding the very black people who built the country from having access to those types of programs. And just like state governments in places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wilmington, North Carolina, bombed and massacred black people for the crime of developing their own thriving economic centers, despite the atrocities of Jim Crow, we now need those same governments to put those resources that they stole from us and put them back into the black population that they stole it from. Just like Japan was given a Marshall Plan with clear goals and clear procedures to rebuild Japan as a modern and capable industrial player after the war with America, we need institutionalized racism to turn its focus towards institutionalized black business development. Institutionalized racism needs to give way to institutionalized black business development to rebuild black society following the war with white supremacy. Because white and non-black people control the economy of every single black neighborhood in America. But there isn't a single white neighborhood in the world where black people control white people's economy. They hate us because we're black, but they can victimize us because we are poor. And you can basically tie every single one of our problems in black society back to the fact that we are economically oppressed, devastated, and enslaved. So now that we've determined that the agenda is black people, okay, what is on the agenda for black people? Economic empowerment. That is going to be the foundation upon which you build all other progress. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. Point number 3. The total dismantling of systemic white supremacy. Across American society, white supremacy is not just a single thing. It is not a single artifact. It is not a single structure. You are up against a system that permeates every factor, every facet, every aspect of your life from the moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to sleep. You are a prisoner in this society. And we have a bunch of names for it: racism, white supremacy, white privilege. But at the end of the day, the problem with white supremacy is its systemic nature. It would be different if white supremacy only occupied one aspect of American life, one aspect of society. If it did, that would be different. But white supremacy permeates everything. There is literally nowhere you can go and nothing you can do to escape it. It is in all aspects of American life, including inside black society, because you've got a bunch of black people who have adopted a white supremacist mindset. You are literally up against that. Now, what do I mean by its total dismantling? Once again, after World War II, take a look at the tremendous difference in the way that black people have been treated as opposed to other people. Take a look at how the Japanese were treated after they went to war against America, and then see how we were treated. What about the Jews? After World War II, they were given the Nuremberg trials, where they hunted down anybody who was a Nazi, anybody who harbored white supremacist sentiment. They dismantled white supremacy in Germany, soup to nuts to bolts, from the bottom to the top. It was completely outlawed and criminalized. That is what needs to happen in Western society, and specifically in America now. The complete criminalization and outlawing of white supremacy, period. You cannot have it. It cannot be there. You're not going to have a prosecutor start explaining away why it's allowed to be there. White supremacy must be recognized as the ultimate evil that it is, and in every aspect of life, from economic to educational to media to the so-called justice system, which is really just our court system, to daycare, to sports, to recreation. White supremacy as a system needs to be criminalized, outlawed, and dismantled the same way that you did in Nazi Germany for Jewish people. You did it there. And someone may attempt to argue, well, they didn't eradicate white supremacy in Germany. You know what? I'll take what the Jews got in Germany and I'll make it work. Compared to what we have here, I'll take what they got in Germany and I'll make it work like hell over here. You better believe that. Point number 4. White supremacist and police violence should be determined and classified as a human rights violation. This idea that we are going to treat white supremacist violence and white supremacists masquerading as police officers, white supremacist lieutenants, captains, and police chiefs co-signing the system, which is why point number 3 was outlawing it and criminalizing it. It needs to be a human rights violation. We are not discussing it in terms of assault. What they did was the system decided that there were not enough black people selling drugs. So in case you all haven't known, what they've done now is if you're a pimp and you running whores, they call that now human trafficking. Now, it used to be that human trafficking had a very specific meaning. It meant that you kidnapped females. It basically was like, you kidnap females or kidnap people. It was like slavery. You had to take them against their will. Today, they have redefined human trafficking and saying that if you're a pimp, but specifically only if you're black male pimps, well, you're not guilty of pimping anymore. Why, that's human trafficking. And oh, we've got a whole list of international laws. So they have criminalized that basically on the level of Nazi Germany. Very glad that you started this process. It is now time for white supremacist and police violence to be classified as a human rights violation. When third world countries have armed police out there shooting unarmed citizens, and those governments defend and condone the acts of their police forces, the United States is quick to call those human rights violations. But when police in America murder unarmed black people, when white citizens murder unarmed black people, the United States calls that proper police procedure and self-defense. But when a black person tries it, all of a sudden you find out you're in jail. That language of calling it proper police procedure and self-defense, that language didn't work for the Nazis, and it shouldn't work in New York, California, or anywhere else. The only reason that George Floyd, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, and most black victims of police violence stand still while they are executed by police is because the cop has a gun drawn on them. That is a human rights violation. When someone who is supposed to be representing the government abuses that authority and commits murder or assault, that is a human rights violation because you are taking advantage of people who are submitting to the law, and then you're condoning somebody violating their human rights because the law is supposed to first and foremost defend our human rights, not defend someone's profession. And in every other instance of society, when a person commits an offense or a crime, simply having a gun in your possession enhances the charges. Now, you know, if somebody is a driver of an 18-wheeler and they run over 3 people deliberately, they're charged with vehicular manslaughter or vehicular homicide, even though the truck is a part of their job duties. If they started off okay and then changed at the last minute and committed a crime, you're going to be held accountable because you're driving a vehicle. That's the way it works in every other aspect of society except for police. Police have been given an exemption in this area, not because it makes legal, logical sense, but because politicians understand that if black people can't be economically controlled, then they must be violently terrorized, and protecting police while they use guns to execute that violence is a necessity. The police are the chosen state goons and thugs who carry out state-sanctioned violence against black people. So if it is a human rights violation, what should be done? The police are the military enforcement arm of white supremacy. And the George W. Bush administration over a decade ago reported that law enforcement in America has been totally and completely co-opted and infested from top to bottom by white supremacist elements. And yet there's been nothing done to root them out and remove these white supremacist operatives. Once again, we needed to have a Nuremberg type event, and that hasn't happened. You have white supremacists beat cops, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, even police chiefs and prosecutors who are using police and sheriff's departments as havens and nests where white supremacists can be hired in a profession that allows you to kill black people with impunity, and the district attorney, also a white supremacist or a white supremacist puppet, will back you up on it. And we need to stop pretending that this daily parade of never-ending slaughters and shootings of unarmed black people is some type of weird fluke of mathematics, and call it for what it is: the wholesale takeover of American so-called law enforcement by violent white supremacists masquerading as police officers. Talk of police reform is a con job. You cannot reform a white supremacist. You cannot retrain a white supremacist. If you find him, you must terminate his job, and if he harms a citizen, you must terminate his freedom, and if he's a threat, you must terminate his life. But you cannot reform a white supremacist. The law needs to change. We need to recognize white supremacy as terrorism. We do not attempt to reform terrorists. We attempt to make sure that they are no longer harmful to the society. White supremacy is a human rights violation. It is domestic terrorism, and it must be and should be and will be regarded and punished. There is nothing you can do with white supremacy except to separate it from everyone else and punish it. That is how you are going to subdue it. This isn't about getting them to like us. This isn't about ridding the world of white supremacy. It is about making sure that it is beaten down to the point that it is no longer a threat to the greater population. Next, schools can no longer be weaponized against black children. It's a sad reality that black children are often the targets of racist school teachers and administrators. And their chief form of abuse is to claim that the black child has a learning disability or is a disciplinary problem, and that the only way you can deal with it is to either put the child on drugs or put the child into special education. Attempting to place black children en masse into special ed has become the common practice in public schools, particularly when they are in elementary school. They try to grab your child very, very young, convince you that there's a problem with the child, and that the only thing they can do is to shovel them off into special ed, or we need to get you to put them on drugs, and we'll even enhance your county check. We'll give you a drug stipend to get prescriptions for your kids if you go ahead and see to it that you put them on these drugs. And that has become common practice in the public schools, so that black children have their educations outright stopped before they've even had a chance to get one. And this exponentially increases their chances of ending up failing in school and thus becoming a dropout and eventually ending up in prison. For those of you who are unaware, in America, the way in which they choose where they build prisons is very simple. They take a look at where dropout rates are highest, and wherever school dropout rates are highest, that's where they place a prison at. So there's a direct connection between schools and prisons. Even if that's not an accurate metric, even if dropout rates are not completely an accurate metric, that's the one that they're using. So in case you didn't know it, and you can look this up for yourself, I'm not saying it, look it up for yourself. Wherever there's a bunch of dropouts, that's where they go. They don't try to fix the dropout situation because the dropout situation is engineered. And now that you have prisons for profit, they need to make sure that they keep stocking the prisons with a fresh stock of inmates. And black people and black children have been chosen as the designated livestock. This is not accidental. This is a conscious effort on the part of racist school faculty members, school board members, and administrators to make sure white privilege is maintained by seeing to it that black children's educations are derailed early in life so that white kids don't have to compete against black children in the global marketplace after graduation. If they can cripple your child in kindergarten, then in a decade, they don't have to worry about your child competing against theirs in the global marketplace. And these monsters are so heinous that they're targeting children. They do not have a conscience, they do not have a soul, and this is why white supremacy must be criminalized and outlawed. If you have all the hallmarks of white supremacy, we don't need you to say you're a white supremacist. If you satisfy all the hallmarks, if you have all of the practices of a white supremacist and all of the hallmarks and indicators, that should be 9/10 of the law. And at this point, we should simply be discussing how many decades in prison you will serve. As a solution, homeschooling needs to be normalized, and or black education academies that meet proper criteria, because not all parents are qualified to homeschool their kids, but black education academies that meet proper criteria, not racist and unnecessary metrics meant to prevent these schools from operating. But if you meet proper educational criterion, those are the best methods of accomplishing this. We need to get black people back in confidence with themselves. In Jewish society, all up there in northern Pennsylvania and whatnot, all over New York, they don't leave it up to the public school system to educate their children. There's a Jewish school connected to every synagogue. Black people need to regain our confidence in ourselves to be able to do that again, because we used to do that, and as soon as we started delivering our children back to the public schools, they started attacking and targeting your kids. They're targeting babies. These are monsters, and you cannot reason with a monster. So don't even try. Next step, the removal of the symbols of institutionalized racism on public grounds. The country of Germany, since World War II, has been able to do quite well to build a rich culture for themselves and teach their children about World War II without having statues of the Nazis decorating their national public facilities. But in America, our Nazis and war criminals are on the steps of the courthouses, in the town squares, and in street corners across America. A black person shouldn't have to look at a statue of Robert E. Lee or Stonewall Jackson when he enters a courthouse. That is a sure sign that he'll get no justice in there. Those statues have nothing to do with history or the law. They are acts of racial terrorism and intimidation aimed at black people. Germany has rail stations. Germany has jet airplanes. Germany has a freeway. All of those were inventions and innovations of the Nazis. All of those. Their existence here in America, we took Nazi scientists and engineers and brought them to America to do those things for us after they lost the war. But Germany didn't have to make statues to Werner von Braun or Ehrlichman or Joseph Hess. They didn't have to make statues to the Nazis who created those innovations. They kept the innovations and put the pictures of the Nazis in a museum where they belong, so that society is not encumbered. So society can progress without these monsters standing in the way. Understand, the only reason that there's a statue of Robert E. Lee anywhere is because that is an act of domestic terrorism. That is an act of claiming this as domestic property and culturally claiming this land for white supremacy. That is the manner in which white supremacists mark their territory, by putting up huge monuments to the monsters that they venerate and pray to. Black children should not have to sit up here and pass by a statue of the American Nazis. This is how you enculturate and condition children to start excusing away white supremacy. Next thing you know, your kids start talking like white supremacists. They start making excuses not for the existence of the statue, but for the acceptance of the legitimacy of the person that the statue was made of. Next thing you know, they start saying Robert E. Lee wasn't a slave owner. That's not true. Robert E. Lee didn't directly buy them, but he was a slave owner. Stonewall Jackson, next thing you know, your kids start equivocating and start sounding like Fox News. They start rationalizing these things away. They start saying, well, these were just men of their time. They start talking as if these weren't things that happened to black people, that these were things that happened to somebody else. And you've got black cities in America where the state governments, these unreformed Confederates and blatant white supremacists, have told you that, oh, we're going to keep up these symbols of white supremacy, even though these are black cities and black areas. That even though you've taken it back, we've marked our territory. And we made it illegal for you to take down the signs and take down the monuments to these monsters of history. I endorse removing them by all means necessary. They have no place in a civilized society and certainly have no place in a black one. Period, point blank. Next, we need to discuss the reconstitution of the American economic order across the board. Lately, they've been talking about 20%, and that alone would be a good thing if you make it mandatory. I think 20% is a good start. For those of you who are unaware, it simply basically says that these entities have to do at least 20% of their business with black businesses. Now, companies in America today receive public assistance in the form of tax breaks and even tax credits, as well as free infrastructure upgrades to make it easier for them to do business. So your tax dollars as black people in Atlanta, Los Angeles, St. Louis, whenever they build a Walmart, whenever they build a Whole Foods or whatever, they redo the whole damn intersection. Now, they'll never do that for your business, but for Walmart, they rebuild whole intersections. They put up new traffic lights. They put in new sewage lines. They do all types of millions of dollars of your black tax dollars are put to work for white corporations. But when you show up, they tell you, oh no, that's welfare. We can't just give you nothing. Meanwhile, they're giving white businesses things all over the place right after they just told you that they can't do it for you. So we need to be done asking, and it is time to demand that we muscle in. You need to require corporations that if they want to do business in your city, as part of the requirement to get their business license, at least 20% of their contracts must go to black businesses that are either purely black sole proprietorships or are corporations that are 75% black owned, as a condition of being able to do business in your city and in your state. So you're not going to play that game of, well, I mean, we ain't going to have no $5 Negroes. You're not going to have any Rachel Dolezals jump up and say, hey, where's my 20%? And you're not going to have any white front groups say, well, hey, we'll just go find us a token Negro who doesn't actually own anything, and we'll use him as our front person to get these contracts. And this should be a condition of getting a business license to do business in that city or that state. If you all were not aware, in California now, Governor Newsom, they made it the law that most of these big corporations, now it's the law you have to have at least 1 or 2 females on your corporate board in order to remain incorporated in the state of California. That is the law today in California. That's the law now. That if you're a major corporation, you must have at least 1 or 2 women on your board. And I think it's actually percentage-wise, depending on how many men you got. Is it for every 5 men, there must be 1 woman or something like that? But you have to have a certain number of women on your corporate boards in California. Now, you do understand that those are going to be white women, right? It's not like there are going to be any black women. Those are going to be white women on those boards. So just like they've told you that Mexicans don't need insurance to drive in Los Angeles, they won't get their cars impounded, but niggas is getting jacked up on tow trucks every damn weekend if they don't have insurance. Now they're saying that white women need to have a right to be on corporate boards. So you all do understand what that means, right? By making this engraved into law, even if black people were to take over the economic infrastructure of California, as if we could, they've already made it the law that, by the way, you're going to have to put 2 white women on the board of directors of your company. It didn't make a racial requirement and say only majority white companies have to do this. This is everybody. So they're writing it into the law that they will have access to black companies before we've even had a chance to build any. So you know what? Since you've demonstrated that that's the way we rollin', then in order to get your business license in California, New York, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, or anywhere else, you need to have 20% of your contracts going to black businesses. And there's an essential reason why this is important. When businesses have a stable contract, when smaller or mid-sized businesses have a stable contract with a major company, this enables those smaller businesses to start making long-term plans. They can start projecting revenues into the near future more reliably. They can get access to lines of credit based on their relationships with those larger businesses. If you'll all remember, Bill Gates wasn't some business marvel. He took the idea of Windows from Xerox and another fellow who wrote the coding for it, and then he went to IBM. And yes, you can talk about his mother all you want to, but he was able to get a contract with IBM. Next thing you know, he didn't go get a job with IBM. Did you hear that? Bill Gates did not pursue a job with IBM. He pursued a contract with IBM. And from there, Bill Gates became several times bigger than IBM. That's how you build white wealth. That's how dimensions of connection being as few as possible builds white wealth. And they told black people, that's just reserved for us. If black folk are going to be talking about voting, that's what we need to vote for. That you must give your contracts to black people, and from there, we gonna make all kinds of things pop off. From there, do you all understand that if the average black person who's actually running their business correctly knew that they could get that type of access, there would be an economic revolution, not within decades, but within a couple of years, simply from being able to leverage those relationships with those major corporations, simply from being able to leverage that. These white businesses and white companies have done business along ethnic lines, giving preferential treatment to white businesses while locking out black ones even when the majority of their customer base is black. These major retailers, among other businesses, need to be required to do business with black vendors, and if there are no black vendors that meet their, quote, requirements, then they have to set up a program where they will mentor and shepherd black vendors through the process of upgrading their facilities or capabilities in order to do business with you. So you will give 20% of your contracts to black businesses, and if there are no black businesses, you will find one, and if you cannot find one, then you will mentor and shepherd one into being a vendor for your company. That is what it will be. Elon Musk is the very definition of white privilege. This is a dude who cashed out of PayPal, and from there, all he needs to do is say, hey, I got an idea, and next thing you know, white folk with money from around the world show up simply to sponsor his idea. It doesn't matter how harebrained, it doesn't matter how wild, it doesn't matter how crazy. And then people say that he's always succeeding. No, he's given so much money to put into his ideas that you have eliminated the possibility of failure. You put so much investment into him that he can't fail. And that's how you've been playing this game. So it's far past time that black folk get a piece of that action. when the automotive corporations, and I did this program a few months ago, when American and Western automotive corporations came into China, they thought they were going to come into China running the game they've always done in places like Mexico and South America. And China said, wait a minute, hit your brakes, white dude. You're not going to come over here and take it over. You're going to have to enter into contracts with Chinese automotive companies. It's mandatory, and you will share it 50-50 with our own homegrown Chinese companies. But it's going to be 50-50. You're not going to come over here and rape the economy and leave us with nothing. You're not going to do that. And that is what they've been doing all this time where black folk are concerned. Where black people are concerned, they keep telling us, well, you know, we can get you a job. Well, you know, we can get you a little bit of this. We can break you off a little bit of that. We'll see if there's something left over. But other people who have been prosperous and made this work, that's not the way they do it. They make sure that these other people, all they got to do is have a damn idea, and there's a bunch of folk lined up to invest in their idea. Black people, no matter how good your idea is, they've locked the door before you've ever had an opportunity to open it. And that's the goal. That's the game. And don't tell me about quality controls. Don't tell me about what black vendors and quality control, or do they do it as well? Damn it, China is giving Walmart toys that poison children for years now. China is selling Walmart toys that mangle and cripple and kill children. And Walmart has only gotten deeper into bed with China, not less in the bed with them. You want to talk about not meeting standards? Well, that was never an impediment to China doing business with Walmart. That's never been an impediment. But you're going to come to black folk and say, oh, you don't have enough capacity. This product isn't up to code. What the hell? And understand, this goes back to point number one. When you sit down and have this conversation with Walmart, on the agenda is black people and black people only, not minorities, not people of color, not women. And if you don't like it, we're going to pull your business license and we'll have somebody else occupying your building. And we'll just do it like that. Mohammed Mossadegh didn't ask the British if they were going to start dealing fairly with Iran. He simply said, your contracts say you're supposed to be giving us half this oil profit and you giving us a couple of pennies on the barrel. We are seizing control of your assets. We are nationalizing your assets, and it's no longer a debate of what you will do. You will do it because you don't control it anymore. And in black cities, while you're talking about cracking down on the police, you need to crack down on these businesses. Because black folk would actually have some assets and resources and legacy to pass down. You're going to cities across the country. Black people are 25% of the population of New York City and practically none of the city contracts. And that brings me to the next issue, because if you notice, this says mandatory public and private contracts. Because across this country right now, you have black people who are 10%, 20%, 30% of the population, but the contracts go to white companies. So you're the majority of the population, but the contracts for the streets and everything else, you don't get to build your own streets. You don't get to make your own parks. You don't get to develop your own dog parks. They sat up here and told you, oh, you're just going to live here. Don't worry. In some cases, they'll bring white folk from out of state. Louisiana, where I'm from, is very good for that, but a bunch of other places are too. They go to places, specifically, they like to go to Texas. Texas is a place that they really like to get contractors from. They really love getting contractors out of Texas, New Jersey, and California. Those are the three major places when you see freeways being built and whatnot. If they don't have anybody in their area who can build it, they go find one of these white corporations in New Jersey, Texas, or California to do it. How the hell are you going to have a city with a 30% black population, but when it's time to build the roads and build the freeways and build the schools and build the parks and build the infrastructure, all of a sudden, okay, black folk, you just go home? Absolutely wrong. We're going to bring in illegal aliens to do it. Absolutely not. If this is a black city, we will take care of building it for ourselves. But you have to also understand how this psychologically cripples you. If you've spent your entire life in a majority black city, but white folk have done all the infrastructure maintenance, then you've grown up your whole life with nobody in your family talking about that. So you just accept the idea that, hey, that ain't for us. That's not what we supposed to do. White folks supposed to take care of that. So there's nobody in your family to even give you a frame of reference. Up there in New York and New Jersey, it's in the family businesses. White boys all over the damn place doing the sidewalk work, doing the street work, and you would figure it'd be better with the horrible condition the streets are in those places. You'd figure it'd be better. But they sit up here and keep those positions for themselves. If it's a black city, especially if it's a majority black city, all of the contracts should go to a black contractor. And if there is a white one, if you just can't find a black one, you need to implement the China protocol. You're going to get a white contractor and you're going to say hello to your new 50-50 partners. And every morning you are going to go over the books, go over the procedure, go over the plans, go over the blueprints, go over the numbers, and everybody is going to know how to set up this building, this freeway, this project when it is done. And if you don't like the fact that we're going to give you 50% of the last contract, I got a question for you, Mr. White Supremacist Contractor. Would you like to have 50% of the last contract? Or would you like to have 0% of the last contract? Understand, that's not something that would take decades to see cataclysmic changes happen. You would see economic earthquakes happen within a matter of 12 months. Let me tell you, when that type of money starts moving, you will see economic earthquakes happen in black society within a matter of months. It will take months to do that. Not years, certainly not decades. And you'll see changes and progress happen so damn fast it will make your head spin off of your shoulders. And let me be clear, the bidding starts at 20%. It doesn't end there. It doesn't start at 20%. I mean, it doesn't end at 20%. It simply starts there. We've got young black boys today. When I was a child, you had black men who were doing the construction work. They brought over illegals specifically for the purposes of making sure that you had these buffer classes who would join the shrinking white population in victimizing us. And we've been voting for integration. We've been voting for interracial sexual access. Do you understand the insanity of what our priorities have been? They're bringing over non-black people for the express purposes of replacing us. And we're jumping up here talking about, you know what we need is more love and more interracial babies is what we need. So you've got some dumb niggas who just play right into their hands. But this is what they're doing. And what I want to do is I want to go back to the primary point here that I was making before. I want to go back to the subject of reparations across the board. And one more time to recap so that we come back and understand what that means. The largest slave-owning state was New York. For those of you who do not know your history, the largest slave-owning state was New York, not Mississippi, not Alabama, not the Carolinas. New York was the largest slave-owning state. And New York owes its wealth and its affluence to black people. There isn't any avenue or aspect of the state of New York that they do not owe to us. While Governor Cuomo is talking about the contributions of Italian Americans, they didn't even get what they got without us. We got what we got without them, but they never got a damn thing without us. And every investment bank on Wall Street that has made its fame and fortune made it off of slavery and profiteering off of the enslavement of black people, while at the same time practicing blatant discrimination to prevent black people from working at the very firms that they owe their very existence to black people over. And this idea that if you steal something from black people, so long as you can keep it long enough, if you can stall them long enough, you can keep it, that is done. It's time for the state and the private sector to work off their debt that they owe the descendants of American slaves. And let me be clear about who all of these reparations are owed to. All of these reparations across the board are owed to the descendants of American slaves. Going back to point number one, when I say black, I'm referring to the descendants of American slaves. Everybody else will benefit indirectly. Rising tide lifts all boats, don't you know? Don't worry, when we make it where the police can't victimize black people, a lot of y'all coon-minded immigrants up there in Minnesota and whatnot, don't worry, it'll cover you too, even though you've been collaborators with them. It'll cover you too, but as far as the direct financial benefits, we built this thing. It's time for us to get what we're due. Time for us to get what we're due. If a person can trace their lineage back to someone who was owned as a slave, and if that person has always identified as black, African American, whatever you want to call it, and never tried to identify as something else, then they are owed not just for slavery, but for Jim Crow, segregation, systemic racism, and all of the evils they've created that continue to this day. City contracts, municipal bonds, equity stakes in these private companies, tax credits and or exemptions from taxes owed, land grants, set-asides, 0% financing, as well as direct cash disbursements are all suitable methods of addressing these debts. All of these are legitimate methods of addressing these debts. Did you notice what I didn't say in there? I didn't say no damn free college education. I didn't say free counseling. I didn't say lifetime government employment, you mushmouth bastards. I didn't say interracial sexual access. I didn't say a gift card to Walmart. We talking about the soup and nuts and bolts of this. We're talking about the real foundational things that everybody is depending upon. Yes, indeed. Cut the check. America was able to instantaneously allocate $10 trillion to deal with the coronavirus outbreak of 2020. And it didn't require a study, it didn't require a commission, and it didn't require a vote from the general population or approval by the general population. It was done simply because it was deemed necessary to be done. And it's an insult to tell the descendants of American slaves that all of a sudden we need all types of examinations and delays and commissions. All of that's needed before what you gave to a virus can be given to us, because you spent that money on a virus without giving it a thought. But when it comes time to pay us, all of a sudden you need introspection, you need measurements, you need experts, you need years, you need commissions. Not really sure can we afford that. But reparations is not just financial. We require reparations across the board because Emmett Till's killers are still walking free. That's not a financial issue. Not his heart. Eric Garner's killers are still walking free. Trayvon Martin's killer is still walking free. Innocent black people all over this country are being held in prisons across the nation. And black people who were given sentences far in excess of their white counterparts are languishing in jail unjustly, and this includes political freedom fighters being persecuted by the state. Not folk like Bobby Rush and Angela Davis anymore, by the way. Not them. And these murderers need to be punished and persecuted. And we require judicial reparations for that. As I said, if we are going to have a Nuremberg, then it needs to be Nuremberg. And by the way, there isn't a single thing that I have named or listed that is not already being done for white society. By the way, everything that you saw me list on here, these things are actually already being done in white society and for white society. They're already doing this. I'm not saying anything that's not already happening over there. I'm saying it needs to be done for us. That's what I'm saying. And as black people, this is what the agenda looks like. It looks like black people taking control of the narrative. It looks like us setting the rules. Now, there will be some scared niggas who are going to say this is too ambitious. And that's the problem. Every time we get close to saying what needs to be done, black folks start getting cold feet and then start saying, well, let's see what we can settle for. No more settling. No more asking. This is what the agenda is, and this is what the agenda must be. But the last thing we need to do right now is get cold feet and start acting as if what we need to have isn't really what we need to have. Now, you've never heard any of this from your white media outlets. You've never heard this from your dead black media. You've never heard this from your intersectionalist media. None of them have said anything even remotely close to what I've said here tonight. And yes, it'll be available here in PDF form, although we'll come back to that. But this is what an agenda looks like. This is what we are demanding. Now, there are greater details that we can get into, but really those all just come back to the points that I've made here. The 911 Ku Klux Karen law and so on and so forth, which, by the way, I need to touch on that. Governor Cuomo is now bringing out the trick bag. He didn't sign all that legislation, as I was trying to tell niggas last week. As a matter of fact, they're claiming there are procedural problems, but he hasn't signed the legislation. The Ku Klux Klan law was supposed to be a hate crime. They pulled it being a hate crime. They took that part out of the legislation and have turned it into a civil offense. While they were telling you the whole time, oh, it's going to be a hate crime, now they put it in the trick bag and said, oh, it's a civil offense. You can sue Karen. You can sue her. Yeah, if you survive the encounter with the police. And by the way, that damn chokehold thing that they were talking about, that so many folk were getting giddy over, and I was warning you not to, which is why I was telling black folk to call their representatives and give them hell. That thing there has got all kinds of loopholes in it. Because it basically says, did you do proper procedure before you choked his ass to death? Let's be very clear about that. Did you do proper procedure before you choked his ass to death? So don't let anybody fool you into believing that these people are genuine and sincere. The trick bag is still very much in effect. Very much in effect. But this is going to give you something that you can take a look at here that is going to deal with this honestly. So if the media wants to know what are our demands, these are our demands. I didn't say nothing about smoking weed. I didn't say nothing about transgender bathrooms. I'm talking about your survival. And from there, you can go get all the weed you want. I don't know how you're going to smoke the weed if you're dead. I don't know how you plan on smoking it if you've been shot by the police. So you need to get your priorities in proper order. Even if you think being able to smoke weed is a big issue, how you gonna smoke it with a bullet in your head? How exactly were you planning on doing that? Now you know what a real agenda looks like. This is reparations across the board. This is reparations across the board. Go compare it to your Black Lives Matter list of requests and those other folk I was talking about the other week. Go compare this to them. And everything that I have said is stuff that they are already doing in white society. We're just saying now it's time for you to cut the check and pass the bag. This is the Black Channel. We are the haven of intelligent black thought. We are going to take a very brief, non-commercial commercial break. When we come back, we might even take your phone calls. This is the Black Channel.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I hope y'all wearing your mask everywhere you go, and more specifically that KN95, protecting against all the germs that are in the air. But also I want to tell y'all one more thing to stay safe. Hand sanitizer, but with aloe vera. So you put some of this on, you rub it around. Not only do you knock all the germs, but the aloe vera smells so amazing that you're killing two birds in one stone without drying out your skin, because traditional hand sanitizer leaves your hands feeling clammy and disgusting. So definitely get hand sanitizer with aloe vera. So one more thing I want to tell you about, though. This code right here, cut the check. So let's say you bought a couple of masks and you bought a couple hand sanitizers and your order exceeds $50. We waive the shipping fee with the code cut the check. So on your checkout, remember to put that in.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are living in extreme times right now as to where we need protection. If you're looking for tactical gear, whether it's for work purposes or protect yourself in your home, come and check out Centerfire Tactical Gear. We have the best tactical gear for you. We have the top of the line name brand companies such as AR500, Chase Tactical, and many more. Also, we're carrying the KN95 mask as well. Check us out at www.centerfiretacticalgear.com.
We are the Black Channel. This is the haven of intelligent black thought. A lot of you have never heard this all before. If you notice that in our list of reparations across the board, Nobody is asking about whether or not your religion is involved. Nobody's asking about college tuition. All of the usual puppet demands that they throw out there and dangle in front of you. We're not talking about that. I am explaining to you about the nuts and bolts of nation building. And a lot of black folk, you have been intimidated into not even taking on the basics. And it's time for us to get accustomed to dealing with the basics here. Because understand, once they open up the door, you'll learn the rest of it. White folk didn't get rich off of a university, people. They didn't get rich off of a university. White folk didn't get rich because of degrees. Do you realize Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, they dropped out? How the hell did they get where they are? It wasn't college that got them there. It was access to a system that was able to properly finance their aspirations. A system that gave them preferential treatment and said, we don't care if 1,000 niggas come through here with a better idea. We're waiting for the white guy to show up and we'll put the money into him. But we'll be damned if we're going to finance black people to the same degree. And we have been playing this game where we argue and discuss and talk it over. And as soon as it's time to prioritize us, they send out their LGBT goons and their intersectionalist bedwenches and baboons to sit up here and try to mislead everybody and tell you that the issue isn't really white supremacy anymore. It's something else. And I'm here to tell you they're a damn lie. And we're not going to discuss the matter any further. This is the agenda. This is what it is. The telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That is 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the black media, to intelligent black society, to the black agenda. Now, there were a couple of folks in the chat room who were attempting to take issue. I think there was one young lady who said that this was impossible and couldn't be done. So I want her to go ahead and give us a call up, and she's going to explain to us exactly why it is that it can't be done. So get her name, get her area code, and we're going to have her call up. And anybody who's questioning about that, because I want you all to understand the first thing that's going to happen is scared niggas is going to start with their knees knocking, telling us what we can't get. Remember, they told us the America can't afford no $15 trillion for black folks. They can't afford that. The country is bankrupt. They ain't got that kind of money. Donald Trump made every one of you who said that look like the straight stone cold dumbasses that you've always been. So now you don't see them niggas talking no more because they already showed you how stupid you were all this time. But it's not just because you were dumb, you were cowardly. So anybody who wants to try that talk, we're going to drag them on out here now, and they're going to explain to all of us why it is everybody else can get it and we can't. Let me get caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Thomas calling from Dallas.
Thomas from Dallas, what's on your mind?
Oh, man, you're speaking the truth, man. You're going to have a lot of people scared to even try what you were talking about because they've been stuck in that mindset of not doing and watching other people do. But money is power. I don't care what people trying to tell you, like degrees don't get it, money gets it. This power, if you don't have money in this country, in this world, you don't have anything. Money is power. You get the economic power together. Look at Black Wall Street. Them black folks was doing it back in the 1920s by themselves. And you mean tell me we can't do it now? The devil is a lie. We can do anything we want to do. We just got to do it.
Their goal has been to convince us that we need to accept our position as a perpetual labor class, a perpetual consumer class. And when you've lost your usefulness as workers or consumers, then we can use you as livestock to fuel the prisons. And you've actually got a certain segment of black society that, as I've always said, they see all this and they just want to go back to picking the cotton. We are not going to join them in that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 973. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. This is Jay from Jersey.
Jay from Jersey. What's on your mind?
I want to thank you, Jason, for this list. I've been waiting for something like this for quite some time. I'm here in East Orange, New Jersey, and I've been raising Cain for the last 2 weeks with my mayor, town hall online meeting, and this is exactly what I've been putting into the group chat, and I've been getting a lot of pushback, but I'm going to continue to fight, and I'm glad you brought this out. I'm a Jamaican immigrant. I know I'm not entitled to any type of reparations in this country, but I am in this for the fight tooth and nail with every single one of you guys. I'm sick and tired of working for white folks, Asian folks.
Let me be clear. I want to interject about that. You are not in line for direct cash disbursement. What you are in line for is ain't gonna be no damn Karens sitting up here not liking the fact that you doing better than her. Because let me tell you, soon the thing that boils a white supremacist ass worse than anything else is a black person who ain't struggling. So when you someplace you don't belong, and even if it's your house, how many videos we've seen just this week alone with white women calling the police on black folk sitting outside of their own house, and then the police are showing up. So you don't have to be a descendant of American slaves to be entitled to protections against the system of white supremacy. So while you might not be eligible for direct cash disbursement, just understand you are eligible for protections that right now you don't have. You are eligible for access to businesses and contracts that right now you don't have. And you are now going to be fewer degrees of separation away from black folk who have that type of access. Because that's the other thing. Bill Gates was what? 1 degree of separation from access to somebody who could get him inside of IBM so he could pitch Windows and get a contract. So you as the Jamaican brothers, the Caribbean brothers, the African brothers and whatnot, we get a foothold and we gonna get it popping for everybody. Because unlike Kamala Harris sitting up here trying to handpick some white folk and let's mix everybody else together. No, brother, something that I told folk 20 years ago when I first started, when my finances crashed and whatnot, I made a promise to myself. I created the Black Channel. This is something I've never said to anybody before tonight. I don't believe in bearing my soul, but I want to tell you all what I said 24 years ago when I did some really dumb things and eventually it culminated in the crashing of my businesses and whatnot. I said to myself, I'm going to rebuild this thing, and when I come up, everybody's coming up. When I get on, everybody's getting on, and I've created the Black Channel to give you all the benefit of the last 2.5 decades of my life experience, and I've dedicated it to my people. So, brother, I understand what you're saying, and thank you very much for being on board with it there, but I do want you to understand, you got a stake in it also. Please don't misunderstand that. You have a stake in it also. We are not going to just leave y'all out there all bad and whatnot. You have a stake in it too. Please don't misunderstand that.
Absolutely. No, not at all. Not at all. The point I was going to make is that I'd rather work with and for my black folks who are the descendants, who get that cash reparations, who are going to build the businesses. That's my point. That was the point I wanted to make. I'd rather work with us than work for someone else. You know, I drive to New York to work for white folks and white corporations. I could do that right here in East Orange, New Jersey, which I'm lobbying for at the moment. I've only started in the last 2 weeks, but I'm going to keep pushing. And if once I get some change or some foothold or some progress, I'll definitely reach out and let you guys know.
Well, the killing part is there's no pathway to partnership with them. They've already installed the ceiling before you ever go to work for them. They already know he's going to get this high. No matter what you do, no matter what you contribute, you're going to get this high and no higher. So the fix is in before you even go talk to them. If you fool with us, there's not going to be an artificial ceiling put on you. you're going to actually have a pathway to partnership, which is something that right now, no matter what you do with these other folk, you can't have it. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight and joining us, brother. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Jason Black? This is Brother Elijah from Las Vegas.
Elijah from Las Vegas. What's on your mind?
How you doing? Look, I deeply appreciate you, my brother. You're a true king as always, man. I love you, my brother, and thank you, man. I don't know where my life would be at without you. I have a question. If we I'm gonna try to articulate my question as best as I can. All right. If we implement all the things that you're teaching us right now, and it can come to pass in the future, how long would you think this can come to pass personally from what you're saying?
Most of the things that I mentioned here tonight, brother, you will see real changes within 1 calendar year. Do you realize what a black business can do if they know for a fact that, let's just say, like, for example, let's just say you have a construction contract in a city, okay? Even a mid-sized city like Shreveport, or, whatever, a city like Memphis, a city like Biloxi. Do you realize what a black contractor can do if he knows that, let's just say that they've allocated $10 million towards, redoing streets or whatever. Do you realize what a contractor can do when he knows that there are, for the next 3 to 5 years, he knows what his income is going to be. He knows what he's going to get. He can start, he doesn't have to wait 5 years before that happens. He can start making bigger moves now. He can start going off and going to pursue other business now. He can go take out, like, for example, if you get a $10 million contract, you can go take out a $5 million loan for equipment. That's not just going to service that $10 million contract. You can go take out the loan for the equipment and start lining up other contracts. That's how house building works. That's how house contracting works. They don't just build one, they build whole neighborhoods. Wow. So what I'm saying is, a lot of you don't know, it's not just the initial business. It's not just that. You can start projecting and making all types of estimations and projections. You can start going out on a limb because you're not at risk of losing every damn thing. You are taken care of and you're solid for the foreseeable future. Now you can start making some bigger moves. But what it is, they keep us, so many of us living hand to mouth, that we don't have any wiggle room. You don't have access to lines of credit. You don't have anything to leverage. And the really about the cities is about backing you. It's about backing you. That's the real thing.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, thank you so much. Because I didn't know, because it's funny, and please, no disrespect to the followers out there. You articulated it better about nation building than I ever heard the Nation of Islam articulated. There's no disrespect to the nation, but you just laid it down pound for pound, because this is perfect, the best idea, and there's no debating this. This is the best idea. Now we just gotta put pressure on these politicians to meet our demands, or maybe the best solution, we just keep tearing stuff up in the streets. Maybe.
Well, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the real easy way. The real easy way is break off our bread and address these points I made tonight. The easy way is what's happening in the streets now. But if Sephora can already say they're going to give 15% of their business to black vendors and contractors, there's no damn reason everybody else can't do the same. If they're not doing it, they'll sit up here and put a black LGBT person as their front person. If you can do that, you can break off 20% of your damn business to us. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Jason.
What is your name? Where you're calling from?
Oh, Cal, I'm calling from Vegas, Jason. I just wanted to hand out the due praise for basically spelling out something that needed to be spelled out for years now, and tell you about the history and why you're so absolutely dead on. My father and my grandfather. After World War II, my grandfather started a construction company, building roads, building foundations, and basically, building homes occasionally. But basically, he had a construction company in the Midwest. He was probably one of the largest contractors in Ohio. But over time, as they were building things like the interstate freeway system, which he got none of those contracts, by the way. Even in the era of the so-called minority set-asides, he was competing against white companies that would, put the wife out there as a shell company, and they would get those contracts, and basically anybody else but him. Over time, there wasn't much business left for him, and by the time I graduated high school and was already in my first year of college, and it was, there was basically not much left of a company that at one time had 25 employees.
You watched in your grandfather's lifetime, by the time it made it from through your father, basically it didn't get to go into your father's hands, and by the time you hit high school, the damn family is starting all over again from zero. And this is the game that keeps being played. So instead of us talking like we're talking right now and saying, look here, we're going to set the rules no matter what y'all think about it. Instead, we started chasing integration. Notice not a thing I said tonight was about integration. I started off by saying black first and black only. And from there, in the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, as he said in 7 a.m., you focus on with getting things together with black people and you get your loving somewhere else. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 480. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Jordan from Phoenix, Arizona.
Jordan from Phoenix, what's on your mind?
Jordan. I just have one point to bring up about your dismantling white supremacy. Why would they dismantle what they own?
I didn't say they would do it, brother. The whole point right now, you're talking about why would they do it? We're not here to ask. I'm supporting the soldiers in the streets because we done asking. I give props to St. Gavin and St. Michael. We ain't asking. So, brother, your question is irrelevant. We're not asking them.
No.
This isn't about if they feel like it.
You're asking the people that own the bank
no,
to just turn it over and just act
No, we're not asking. You don't hear very well. Last time, we're not asking.
How are you demanding?
Have you turned on a...
How is it that you're demanding
Have you turned on a TV, nigga?
Just talking on YouTube is not going to get it, my friend.
We're not just talking on YouTube, you dumbass. Good grief. As I said, the scared niggas called up. Ooh, how you gonna get them to do that there? Just a week ago, Sephora wasn't talking about giving nothing. Now they talking about we'll give them 15%. They weren't talking about anything. You got to remember, you scared niggas done jumped up. Ooh. I don't know. You gonna make trouble now. How you gonna get them to do that there? They're already doing it. I don't know now. But nigga, this isn't up for debate. They're already doing it. I'm saying put the pedal to the metal and stamp your foot on the gas. I don't know though. I don't understand. I'm sure there's a lot in his life he doesn't get. Caller from 253 area code, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, hi, Jason. My name is Kim. I'm calling from Seattle, Washington.
Kim from Seattle, where they've taken over a whole damn block or so up there.
They have.
Oh, yeah, by the way, the cowardly buck dancing coon nigga just got off the phone talking about how are you going to make that happen? Kim, you're in Seattle. The whole damn news is taking a look at the fact that, by the way, they done took over a whole damn couple of blocks up there. They're taking over a whole couple of blocks up there.
Yes.
So when I'm saying he's sitting up here talking about can't happen, and you're sitting here on the phone saying, yeah, actually it is happening right now.
It is. It is.
What's on your mind?
The reason why I'm calling is in reference to descendants of American slaves. And in terms of the spectrum of blackness, the degrees of blackness, I was calling to speak with you about how do we determine what is black. And the example would be if oftentimes we see an individual who has a white parent and a black parent, and they present outwardly as black. However, could they also I guess, qualify as an American descendant of slaves? And would this be problematic because they would not possibly be committed to our ultimate goal of building our nation? How do we do that?
Okay, first of all, like I say, the process is very simple. It's not hard to be able to validate your lineage. It ain't hard. If it comes down to it, we can do a DNA test on you. But it's actually not hard to do that. It really isn't. Between Ancestry.com and 23andMe, we can figure out exactly where you come from. So it's really not this big, huge, oh, Lordy, can we figure out who was actually there or not? How do we keep out the imposters? It's not hard, okay? It ain't hard. The real question is, have you made it the rule that this is reserved only for the descendants of American slaves? Because right now you got a bunch of black folk who want to try to get cold feet when we say, no, this is for us. There'll be other things that since everybody loves stuff indirectly benefiting us, we've got something that will directly benefit us and indirectly benefit the rest of you, and you should be cool with that. You should be cool with that.
Well, what constitutes being black? What percentage? Is it 75% of African heritage, 50% of African heritage, even 25% of African heritage?
The question isn't what qualifies as being black. The question is what qualifies as not being black.
Okay.
Who isn't?
So how do you determine that?
Okay, first of all, white society determines who black is. This isn't a matter of opinion.
Why do you let them do that?
Okay, ma'am, stop. Be quiet. You asked a question, I'm answering it. This isn't time for us to argue, okay? We're all getting on the same page. This isn't time for gender warring and arguing and, oh, my husband don't listen to me. White society determines who's black. This isn't a matter of opinion. This isn't for you to decide, well, I got my own thoughts. Nobody cares what you think. This white supremacist system says who black is. They determine that. You don't get a vote. If you want to sit up here and try to determine for yourself who black is, then get your happy ass down there at City Hall and go try to tell white folk who black isn't. Go up and whatever percentage you want to say isn't black, you go up there and say, no, y'all don't understand. See, Halle Berry is not black. You don't understand that there. See, she ain't black. That's coon babble. You always got niggas when it's time for us to get marching, they want to start debating because you don't actually know what to do. So you think debating is an action. White folk already made the rules. We waste time with niggas who want to pontificate and plebiscite and debate and make it an academic exercise. To hell with that. The debate is over. Those people drew the battle lines. They said who is black. We're going from there. If you want to sit in your basement with your incense and your herbal tea and your marijuana and debate it with some unemployed Xbox goon wearing jackass on a couch about, now, you know, I say if you is if you is 50%, how the hell do we measure that? I say if you 50%, you ain't really, or if you 30%, you ain't really, you need to be like 70%. Yeah, that's the kind of dumbass stuff we keep doing. We're not here to stand in one place and have
Can
this
I make a point?
No, the point for you is to get off the phone. That's your point.
Well, here's what I would say.
I just
is
said
that
get
if
off the
African Americans,
phone.
well, just one moment.
No
if we don't
moments.
Define,
Get off the phone.
If
we already defined
if
it.
Black
You're late.
people of African
You're
origin,
late.
If
We've
we
already
don't define
defined it.
who we are,
We've already
if
done
we
it.
don't define who we are,
We've already done it.
we,
You're late.
we have to be the ones who define who we
and
are.
we have.
If
You're
you allow
late.
them to define who we are, then you're never going to achieve the goal.
If the problem is we wouldn't be in this situation if it weren't for them making the definitions in the first place. You're not very bright.
Which is why we need to do that.
No, we have already made the determination. They made the ground rule.
They need to understand that.
Okay, you don't have any power to sit up here and tell them, okay, I need y'all to rewrite these rules. So if you want to have that academic exercise with yourself and that intellectual masturbation by yourself, go do that. But we're not here to measure folk, and we'll spend all of our damn time trying to measure people. I want to know who's riding. If they meet the criterion, good. We're not here to sit up here and say, well, is it 70? Because you're one of these dumbasses who's going to sit up here and say, well, wait a minute now. Oh, by the way, yeah, let me ask your stupid ass that question. Tell me the percentage of which you think a person qualifies as black. What's the percentage for you that would qualify?
Well, ultimately, here's the issue.
Whoa.
The
Give me a
fact
number.
of the matter
No, give me
is
the number. Give me the number. You asked the question, what is the number?
I would say if we are not, or if any of us are not 75% or more African,
okay,
you are not
why not
black.
Wait a minute. Why not? Well, no. Why is it you didn't say 60%? Why did you say 70?
Because more than likely the outward cast or the presentation that you have is non-threatening.
What is the significance of that number? You chose a number. What's the significance of 70%?
I'm trying to explain.
No, tell me, what does 70% qualify?
The difference between 60 and 70% affects the outward cast of how black people look. And this makes a difference to the demonic society.
That's not true. You've got black folk who are only 40% black and are dark-skinned. You don't know a damn thing about genetics, biology, or phenotypes. You sound ridiculous.
But what you need to...
Okay,
here's the point that I'm making.
Here's the point that I'm making.
40%,
the point is you're a fool.
Those that are...
This is the problem that we have right here. What's the difference between 60 or 70%? Well, if you 60%, then you look different than if you 70%. And this is one of these broke-ass, incense-burning, head-wrap-wearing, Erykah Badu biddy-bop broads sitting up here talking this nonsense. She'll sit around in the room with some broke-ass nigga while they pontificate for the rest of their damn lives about, well, you shouldn't be dating them light-skinned chicks. You shouldn't be dating them. You need to be dating me. We're over here talking about getting tangibles, and she wants to talk about, wait a minute. Before we can get our tangibles, we need to discuss about, is you 60% or 70%? And white supremacy is saying, I don't give a damn if you're 5%, you're all niggas. All of you are niggas. All of you. And she's sitting up here playing in her mind like her opinion about what qualifies as black has some bearing on the greater society. I need you females who have that color complex. The problem isn't men's preference of light-skinned chicks. The problem is maybe you're just a bummy ass broad. If I can just be indelicate about it, maybe the problem is you. Did you ever think about that? Maybe the problem is just you. Maybe it's not that men have a light skin fetish. Maybe the problem is your insecure ass your insecurity is not very damn sexy to anybody. We got real stuff to deal with, and she wants to debate. Now, is it 60% or 70%? She literally just sat here and said, you don't look black unless you're 70% or 60%. She literally just said that. Literally. She literally just said it. If that doesn't tell you how damn dumb that is, I don't know what will. You sit over there and debate that nonsense forever. We getting real stuff done. Caller from area code 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Tasha from Tulsa.
Tasha from, did you say Tulsa?
Yeah.
Tasha from Tulsa. Sounds like an R&B group. What's on your mind?
I just had a question about the contracts you were referring to. I wanted to ask if you could elaborate a little bit more about that. Were you referring to securing government contracts or consulting?
Baby, across the board. There's no limitations. Across the board.
Okay, I was just curious because
everything. If it is not coming from their direct revenues, if it's not a direct employee of the company, if they're getting something from someone who is not a direct employee, whoever you outsourcing that to, whoever you contracting with, 20% of them need to drop that change over here. You need to break that bread over here.
Okay.
That's what the rule is.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what it is. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get a caller from area code 702. Talk about R&B groups. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Camelot from Vegas.
Camelot from Vegas. What's on your mind?
Yo, Jay, man, it's been a while since I've been trying to get just to say, man, you're a great person, man. You're a soldier for the race, man. You're not a traitor, you know. I was born in Haiti, man. I was raised out here, and at a very young age, I learned how white people treated black people around, you know, in this country. You know, walking into a store with my black friends, and they were being watched, and I was new to that. You know, come to find out, they thought we were stealing them when we were buying stuff. You know. And that kind of like hurted me from very, very early age, man. And till today, I'm 44 years old, man. It's just nothing changed.
Well, that's the thing we need to recognize. You know, nothing's going to change unless we insist on it. Nothing's going to change unless we demand it. As Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without the demand. It never has and it never will. And the sooner we get it through our heads that we're only going to get what we force and what we demand, we'll just be here for 100 years from now, and you'll be telling your grandchildren. Well, assuming you're still alive.
Right now,
thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. Please do give us a call again. Let me get a caller from area code 310. You're on live with the Black Channel. We got a few minutes left here. What's on your mind? What's your name? Calling from?
How you doing, Jay? My name's Tyler, calling from Los Angeles. How you doing, Jason?
Tyler from Los Angeles. What's on your mind?
Nothing much, Jason. I just thought that was an incredible presentation you gave. I had worked on a couple of things. Well, I wanted to see what you thought about some of the little pieces I wanted to put in the package as well, in the reparations package. So the first thing I wanted to get your opinion on was, what do you think about continuing the monthly payment model rather than the policy model that you were putting forth? Because I feel like that's the best way to redistribute and get the wealth out, kind of the COVID-19 style that we have right now. What are your thoughts on that?
A fool and his money will always part. It doesn't matter whether you give him a lump sum or whether you attempt to distribute it in disbursements. A person who is not serious about taking a financial windfall and turning it into permanent wealth, it doesn't matter whether you give him a lump sum or whether you try to dole it out. It's not, you think you're saving him. Well, if I dole it out, he'll learn in bite sizes along the way. That's not the way it works, brother. If he's irresponsible with his money, if he's just not taking it seriously, it doesn't matter how you give it to him. He's gonna buy Nikes with the first month, hair weaves with the second month, Xboxes with the third month. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay, I appreciate that. And second thing was, I was talking to somebody because I put a reparations proposal on Twitter and on Instagram, and I got a little bit of feedback. And one of them was, do you think that we'd have a better chance, because they're thinking, okay, they're giving away all this money, all this funding, but we could just have a requirement where 70% of that has to be spent in the United States. Of course, we would want to spend that with black businesses, but there could be some type of clause like that. Do you think that would be important to that, or no? And I can take your answer offline.
Well, all I can say is if a person's irresponsible and squanders their opportunity, they will do so. Here's the really great thing. We don't need everybody to be on board. We don't need everybody to get it at the same time. Do you realize if 20% of black people, 2 out of every 10, do you realize if simply 2 out of every 10 actually make something of what they're given and actually make it happen, do you realize that's all you need? That's all you need. You don't need 100% of people to get it straight. If 2 out of the 10 properly utilize what they're given, and with all the things I got for you plugged in here, how in the hell could you lose? If 2 out of the 10 properly utilize it, you've got a black economic behemoth, the likes of which the world has never witnessed. It'll make the pyramids pale in comparison. Caller from area code 703, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, how you doing? This is Larry from Woodbridge, Virginia.
Larry from Woodbridge, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to say thank you for finally bringing the conversation around when it comes to business, black economics, black empowerment, especially when it boils down to your dollars, who you spend your money with, when it comes to opening up businesses, banking, all that. I appreciate it. And sorry for that caller earlier because I don't know what the heck she was talking about. She was definitely off her rockers. Who you spend your money with and who you bank with matters way more than who you freaking vote for. And that's all I got to say about that. So thank you, Jason.
Very well stated. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 423. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Al Malik from Knoxville.
What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, man. So I've been a long-time listener. Just want to say appreciate what you've been doing. Be one. The ideas that you're putting forth are great. I sign off on them completely. It's long overdue. But I keep getting into arguments with my coworkers. At this point, are we ever actually going to see, even if they meet our demands, what's to stop this from happening 50 years from now? Could we not possibly put this money?
We are.
Okay,
we're short on time, everybody. We are the answer, brother. Benjamin Franklin, think of him what you will, he was correct when he was asked, after they came out from writing the Constitution, he was asked by a woman, supposedly the story goes, well, sir, do we have a democracy or a republic? To which he answered, you have a democratic republic if you can keep it. So, brother,
right.
It's not like we get the problem fixed and it's fixed forever. We're going to have to fix the problem, and just like respect, we're going to have to keep it. We're going to have to keep coming back every day and every year and maintaining what we built. Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay, caller from 646 has been abducted. Caller from 239 area code. You're on live with the Black Channel. Turn off your speakers. Okay. Caller from 239 is playing around. Caller from area code 224. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? Hey, how you doing, Jason? This is Antoine from Evanston, Illinois.
Antoine from Evanston. What's on your mind, brother?
Not much. I just wanted to tell you how brilliant this idea was. When I think about this, so many things come to mind. Department of Transportation. In Chicago, you got 47. All of them really don't need that much. But just the portable skills that people can pick up, just even through this kind of experience. I'm also looking at, just the fact that you got an ex-con working class that's kind of overlooked, and the fact that they're able to build any kind of market. And, the fields that they worked in that possibly got them into being incarcerated, just giving them these kind of resources. It's just endless. And the effect that you'll even be able to have just on gentrification is just magnificent.
Well,
so it will work. It will work, brother.
I think a lot of people can benefit from it. It will work for them if they put it to work. Like I say, it's not a guarantee. You're free to screw it up. But that's the whole point. This is what we're owed. See where you take it and see what you make of it. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 973. You're on live with the Black Channel. Okay. Let me get caller from 216. You're on live with the Black Channel. Okay. I think they have all been mass assaulted. We'll try one more. Caller from area code 334. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Jason, this is Leslie. I'm calling from Enterprise, Alabama, by way of New York City. Let me tell you, I tell people the way you are due reparations is if your ancestors had no green card, no work permit, no visa, no passport to get here. And if you want to know if you're black, go to a Klan rally. And if you can take off the hood after the rally is over and throw back a few beers with those good old boys, then they're going to let you know what they are. Be one. I love everything you do. Peace to the family.
Black First Sister, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Because the issue is, that's why I was asking, when I said the dumbass there, why make the number 70%? Why not just make it 100%? Why not just say the answer needs to be 100%? If you're going to start trying to disqualify people, if this is about a purity test, then you're a liar if you don't demand purity. So if this is about who's black and who isn't, why are you given a 30% margin of error? Why don't you just make it 100%? Why don't you just do that? Why are you bringing up an arbitrary number of 70%, which has no genetic or biological bearing or pertinence on anything? That's just a number that you feel emotionally comfortable with. And this isn't about whether or not you're emotionally damn comfortable. So if you all want to know the other reason why black folk are so slow to make progress, understand something here. As you all remember, at the beginning of the 20th century, when white society anglicized Italians and Irish people, you see, she's a fool who doesn't know her history and doesn't understand ethnic warfare. Your Italian governor of New York, which is a fixed mulatto race, but your Italian governor of New York is flying the banner of white supremacy. At the end of the 19th century, Italians, Greeks, Irish, they were all considered the gutter people because there was some mixture in their past. They had mixed with black folk a little bit too much that it changed their composition. They were a little bit what they call swarthy, olive complexion. Those are all just ways of saying y'all got some Negro genes in you. But at the turn of the 20th century, all of them, including Mexicans at one point, all of them were indoctrinated and drafted to being white people. It wasn't until, the 1970 census that so-called Mexicans and whatnot could choose to be something other than white. Up until the 1970 census, they were considered white. Legally. And most of them identify as white today. But at the beginning of the 20th century, white society, your German and British and Anglos, they grabbed all of those folks who used to be the gutter whites and they said, blah, you are now fully white people. You're white now. You're white. Understand that. You're white. Just that quickly it was done. Just that quick. There wasn't a debate. There wasn't a, let me measure how much whiteness you got in you. There wasn't a, well, you're 70%, you 80%, you 60%. Let me measure this over here. White society said it's on. It's on. You are white now, and it's on. They didn't sit around having meaningless, endless, dumbass, worthless debates. They didn't let you hold them up. They said it's time to bolster the numbers, and here we go. Everybody who supports white supremacy, we got a space for you now. I know yesterday you was as good as the niggas. We've had a change of heart. Today, you're white. If you choose to be, and everybody bum rush the door. So now you can't find any more Greeks, Italians, Irish. You can't find any of them who do not identify as Anglos today. Yet you still got black folk sitting up here deluding themselves and believing that there's some type of debate. That we're going to sit up here and disqualify other black folk. Ooh, that'll leave more for me. It will not leave more men for you. You don't have the disposition or attitude that makes me want to be with you. It's not going to leave more power. It's not going to leave more wealth. It's not going to leave more influence. We got to get away from these damn debate team niggas. Y'all got to understand that. We need to have planners, strategists, people who are about the doing. We don't need to deal with these damn debate team niggas. Niggas who want to spend their whole damn lives, everything's a damn debate. Let's debate about who is black. And next, let's debate about what our name should be. Because if we are going to be black people, y'all have heard all this bull crap before from the niggas who ain't gonna get nothing done. What is the name we gonna call ourselves? Now, before we can get our reparations, before we can do that, we need to know who is really black. And we need to know what the name is we gonna call ourselves. And we also need to know what our religion is gonna be. We need to have an African religion. That what we need to have. We need to speak an African language. Also, pass me my incense and my marijuana, my herbal tea, baby. And we also need to discuss about African artwork. Every black person should have an African statue in their home. Otherwise, you ain't really black if you don't have that there. Every black man need to have this kind of hairstyle. Or if you got male pattern baldness, we'll see what we do. Every black female needs to have this hairstyle over here. And we need to choose these types of names from sub-Saharan Africa, but not necessarily from Middle Africa, Dan. And Northern Africa, we with qualifications, of course, we would have that. And that heifer will have us debating and debating and debating for the next 500 damn years while white supremacy has exterminated us. While she's sitting over there masturbating intellectually over DNA, white supremacy will have wiped all of us out. While she's sitting over there talking, because the truth of the matter is, niggas like that want to talk because they don't have a plan. If you gave her $1 million, she would spend all of it on patchouli oil and hair ties and bowerettes and probably getting a bunch of damn tattoos. Trying to imitate Erykah Badu if you gave her $1 million. And that other jackass talking about, well, how we gonna make this happen over here? Give him $1 million. He's gonna find the first Becky if he ain't one with one already. Probably already chasing behind one. No, we're through with the debate team. We through with the debate team. We on the action team. But you gotta understand, there's a bunch of folk who are scared of taking action. They're scared of it. That's why we're going to get them up off the block. They are scared to death. They've always been scared to death. And no amount of white supremacy is going to bother them because at the end of the day, they're not actually trying to go anywhere. So they're attracted like flies to a light bulb because they see us over here getting things done, and they're like, oh, I'm so good that y'all are talking and getting some things happening. I would like for us to discuss about our African history here, and brother, I don't think that you should be allowed to speak on this here because your name is Jason, and that is a name that is derived from European ancestry, German and English, and we should sit here and talk to me. My name is Boonshika, Amalaka, Assalamualaikum, Moolah, Boom Boom, Mancini, and I believe I should be the person who gets to talk about this. Well, Bushikwa, Akalaka, Boom Boom, Hotep, Queen, Honess, can you tell me what you've ever succeeded at that qualifies you to lead us? Well, back when I was in high school, I got a perfect 100 on my English test. Damn the debate team, niggas, we ain't debating. We ain't debating a damn thing. The debate is over. Listen to me. The time for talking is over. I'm telling y'all what needs to be done now. I'm just talking about what needs to be done. Damn a talk. I'm going to have this available in PDF format if you want it there. The points will be listed. You'll be able to pass it around and all that little good stuff. But just understand, this is the agenda. This is the agenda. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Over 96,000 subscribers and, over 97,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, and rising. This is not a little thing. We're streaking towards 100,000 and beyond. There's a reason that they call us the Black Media. If you haven't clicked that red subscribe button, you want to do that. YouTube has been restricting and suppressing my channel, but by people clicking subscribe, that makes our numbers go up. So at the very least, we know where everybody is. Do not discount that. If you are new here, you can understand we don't do pie in the sky talk. We are doing real concrete, on the ground, well-grounded, logical discussion and action. And by the way, talking about action, the jackass who was on the phone before talking about the banks, he's about that talk. I'm about that action. And I got something coming up in that New York area. Be watching. So click that red subscribe button. And if you haven't seen our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work that people keep talking about, take a look at the description of this video right now. Go to our website, blackchannelfilms.com. That's blackchannelfilms.com. You want to check out our documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified Ethnic Cleansing American Style. Our newest documentary, Race War, all available on sale, all available on Amazon, all available for streaming, all available now. blackchannelfilms.com. I know they're trying to suppress us and restrict us. They made my previous broadcast age restricted, but you got to understand, we've come too far to turn back now. At this point, it's do or die. Choose your side. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the BlackChannel.net radio program. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.